The hard truth about becoming successful. The truth is harsh, but it's the only thing powerful enough to wake you up. What you're about to hear is not motivation. It's not comfort. It's not something designed to make you feel good for a few minutes and then go back to your old habits. This is something deeper, something heavier, something that forces you to confront yourself. Because success, real success, is not what most people think it is. It is not easy, it is not fair. And most importantly, it is not meant for everyone. Success belongs to those who are willing to become someone else. Someone stronger, sharper, more disciplined than who they are right now. Your current life, every part of it, is a reflection of your past thinking. Every decision you made, every excuse you justified, every moment you chose comfort over growth. It all led you here. And if you're waiting for a day when everything will suddenly change, when you'll feel ready, confident, fearless, that day will never come. There is no perfect moment. There is no magical switch. There is only a decision to stop being who you've been and start becoming who you were meant to be. People say, I'll start when I feel ready. But the truth is, you will never feel ready. Fear doesn't disappear. Doubt doesn't vanish. Uncertainty doesn't wait for your permission. The people who win, the people who rise, the people who build something extraordinary out of nothing, they don't wait for fear to leave. They move forward with fear in their chest, doubt in their mind, and fire in their soul, because they understand something most people never will. Growth begins where comfort ends. And comfort is the most dangerous place you can live. Comfort feels safe. Comfort feels easy. Comfort whispers, stay here, you're fine. You can start tomorrow. But tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And one day you wake up and realize you've spent your entire life preparing, but never actually do it. That is the tragedy of potential, not failure, but never trying at all. Look at the lives of those who changed the world. They were not chosen. They were not lucky. They were not given a perfect path. They were driven by something deeper. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating the light that changed the world. Henry Ford was broke, ridiculed, and told his vision was impossible before he revolutionized industry. Walt Disney was fired for lacking creativity before he built an empire of imagination. Abraham Lincoln faced repeated defeats, losses, and heartbreak before leading a nation through its darkest time. They all face something you are facing right now: doubt, uncertainty, fear of failure. But here's the difference. They didn't negotiate with it. They didn't wait for approval. They didn't ask the world if they were good enough. They decided, and that decision changed everything. Success is not about talent. It is not about intelligence. It is not about luck. It is about discipline. It is about consistency. It is about showing up every single day, especially when you don't feel like it, because feelings are unreliable. Your mind will lie to you. It will tell you that you're tired when you're just unfocused. It will tell you that you're not ready when you're just afraid. It will tell you to wait when you need to act. And if you listen to that voice, you will stay exactly where you are. The hard truth is this: no one is coming to save you. No one is going to hand you success. No one is going to wake you up every morning and force you to chase your dreams. You have to do it. You have to become your own leader, your own motivator, your own source of discipline. Because the moment you take full responsibility for your life, everything changes. Blame disappears. Excuses lose power, and control returns to you. That's where transformation begins. Not outside of you, but within you. Your thoughts are not just thoughts. They are instructions. They are blueprints. They are the foundation of your reality. If you constantly think small, you will live small. If you constantly doubt yourself, you will sabotage yourself. If you constantly focus on what you lack, you will always feel incomplete. But if you train your mind, if you discipline your thoughts, if you force yourself to see possibility where others see limitation, you begin to shift something powerful. You begin to create a different reality. Because belief is not just a feeling, it is a force that shapes your action, a force that determines your persistence, a force that defines your outcome. And here is the truth most people are too afraid to accept. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you deserve. So the question is not, What do you want from life? The real question is, what do you believe you are worthy of? Because that belief will dictate everything. The opportunities you pursue, the risks you take, the standards you accept, the way you speak to yourself when no one is watching. And if your belief is weak, your results will be weak. If your belief is unshakable, your results will eventually follow. But belief alone is not enough, because belief without action is nothing more than a dream, and dreams without execution are delusion. This is where most people fail. They visualize success. They talk about success. They even feel inspired by success. But they don't do the work required to achieve it. They don't wake up early when it's uncomfortable. They don't push themselves when it's hard. They don't stay consistent when results are slow. And because of that, they stay stuck. Success is not built in moments of excitement. It is built in moments of resistance. It is built when you are tired, but you continue. When you are discouraged, but you keep going. When you feel like quitting, but you refuse. That is where greatness is forged. In silence, in struggle, in discipline, because discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. It is not glamorous, it is not exciting, but it is necessary. And the sooner you accept that, the sooner your life begins to change. You cannot negotiate with your goals. You cannot compromise with your potential. You cannot expect extraordinary results from ordinary effort. You have to raise your standards. You have to demand more from yourself. You have to become obsessed with growth, because average effort leads to average results. And average results lead to an average life. And deep down, you know you were not meant for average. You feel it. That voice inside you, that restlessness, that desire for something more, that is not quantity. That is your potential calling you. And it will keep calling you until you answer, or until you silence it completely. But silencing it comes at a cost, regret. The kind of regret that hits you years later, when you realize you had the chance, but you didn't take it. When you realize you could have become more, but you chose comfort instead. When you realize that the only thing standing between you and the life you wanted was you. Oof. So the question is, what are you going to do now? Because this moment, right here, is your turning point. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when everything is perfect. Now, you either continue the same patterns, or you break them. You either stay who you are, or you become who you are meant to be. There is no in between. There is no neutral ground. Because every day you are either moving forward or falling behind. Success is not a destination. It is a daily decision. A decision to push harder, to think bigger, to act with purpose, to refuse mediocrity, and to build a life that reflects your highest potential, not your lowest. Excusey. So stand up, take control, and understand this. The hard truth about becoming successful is this. It will demand everything from you. Your time, your energy, your comfort, your excuses, your old identity. But in return, it will give you something most people will never experience. Freedom, growth, purpose, and the power to become the person you were always meant to be. And understand this, once you make that decision, there is no going back to who you used to be. Because awareness changes everything. Once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. Once you realize that your life is your responsibility, excuses start to sound like lies. Weak justifications lose their power, and the comfort that once felt safe starts to feel like a prison. This is where the real battle begins. Not outside, but inside your own mind, because your mind will fight you. It will try to pull you back into old habits, old patterns, old thinking. It will remind you of your past failures. It will whisper that you're not capable. It will show you every reason why you should stop. And if you're not careful, you will believe it. But here's what you need to understand. Your mind is not your master. It is your tool. And like any tool, it must be trained. Because an untrained mind is dangerous. It drifts, it doubts, it seeks comfort, it avoids pain. But a trained mind, a disciplined mind, a focused mind becomes unstoppable. It doesn't wait for motivation. It creates it. It doesn't react to circumstances. It controls them. It doesn't collapse under pressure. It rises because of it. That is the difference between those who succeed and those who stay stuck. Not opportunity, not background, not luck, but control over their own thoughts. You see, success is not built on what you do occasionally. It is built on what you do consistently. The small actions, the unseen effort, the quiet discipline that no one applauds, that no one notices, that no one celebrates. Those are the things that shape your future, because what you do daily becomes who you become permanently. If you wake up every day and choose distraction, you become distracted. If you wake up every day and choose excuses, you become average. But if you wake up every day and choose growth, even when it's hard, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't feel like it, you become powerful, not overnight, not instantly, but inevitably, because consistency compounds, just like interest. Every small effort, every disciplined action, every moment you push yourself beyond your limits, it all adds up. And one day, it shows in your results, in your mindset, in your confidence, in your life. But most people never reach that point because they quit too early. They expect results too fast. They lose patience. They lose faith. They let temporary emotions override long-term vision. And that is why they fail, not because they lack ability, but because they lack endurance. They stop before the breakthrough. They quit before the transformation. They give up right when things are about to change. And that's the tragedy, because success is often just one more step beyond where most people stop. One more push, one more effort, one more day of discipline. But that one more is where most people break. So the question is, will you? Or will you keep going when it gets hard? Will you stay committed when results are slow? Will you believe in yourself when no one else does? Because that is what it takes. Not motivation, not hype, but relentless commitment. The kind of commitment that doesn't depend on mood. The kind of commitment that doesn't fade when things get uncomfortable. The kind of commitment that says, I will do this no matter what. That is the mindset of winners. That is the mentality of those who build something out of nothing. They don't negotiate with difficulty. They don't run from pressure. They don't collapse under adversity. They adapt. They learn. They grow stronger because they understand something powerful. Every obstacle is an opportunity. Every failure is feedback. Every setback is a setup for something greater, but only if you choose to see it that way. Because perspective shapes experience. Two people can face the same struggle. One sees it as a reason to quit. The other sees it as a reason to rise. And that difference changes everything. So train yourself to see differently when things go wrong. Don't ask, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this trying to teach me? When you fail, don't say, I'm not good enough. Say, I'm not done yet. When you feel pain, don't avoid it. Use it, because pain is not your enemy. It is your teacher. It shows you your limits and then dares you to break them. That's how growth happens. Not in comfort, but in challenge. Not in ease, but in struggle, because struggle builds strength. Pressure creates diamonds. And adversity reveals character. So stop running from hard things. Start embracing them. Because everything you want, everything you dream about, everything you know you're capable of, is on the other side of difficulty. And if you're not willing to go through it, you're not ready to have it. That's the hard truth. Success is not given to those who wish for it. It is earned by those who are willing to become worthy of it. And becoming worthy requires change, deep, uncomfortable, relentless change. It requires you to let go of who you were so you can step into who you need to be. And that process is not easy. It will challenge you. It will test you. It will break parts of you. But it will also build you stronger, sharper, more focused, more disciplined, more aligned with your purpose. Because success is not just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process. And that version of you, the one who has faced fear, the one who has pushed through pain, the one who has stayed consistent when it was hard, that version of you is powerful. That version of you is unstoppable. But you have to earn it through action, through discipline, through persistence. Every single day. No shortcuts, no excuses, no compromises. Because the moment you start making excuses, you start lowering your standards. And the moment you lower your standards, you lower your life. So raise them. Raise your expectations. Raise your effort. Raise your mindset. And refuse to settle for anything less than your best. Because your best is not fixed. It evolves. It grows. It expands. The more you push yourself, the more you realize what you're capable of. And that realization changes everything. Because once you see your true potential, you can't go back to playing small. You can't go back to making excuses. You can't go back to living an average life. You either rise to that potential, or you live with the regret of knowing you didn't. And that regret is far more painful than any struggle you will ever face on the path to success. So choose your pain, the pain of discipline, or the pain of regret, the pain of growth, or the pain of staying the same. Because either way, pain is coming, but only one leads to greatness. Only one leads to freedom. Only one leads to a life that you can be proud of. So decide right now, who are you going to be? The person who talks, or the person who acts, the person who dreams, or the person who executes, the person who waits, or the person who creates. Because in the end, your life will not be defined by what you intended to do. It will be defined by what you actually did. So take action relentlessly, fearlessly, consistently, and don't stop. Not when it's hard, not when it's slow, not when it's uncomfortable. Because that is exactly when it matters most. That is exactly when you are being tested. And that is exactly when you have the opportunity to prove to yourself that you are capable of more than your fears, more than your doubts, more than your past. And once you prove that to yourself, everything changes, because confidence is not something you're born with. It's something you build through action, through discipline, through keeping promises to yourself. And every time you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you strengthen that confidence. You reinforce that identity. You become someone who follows through, someone who finishes, someone who wins. And that identity is the foundation of success. Because once you see yourself as someone who executes, someone who persists, someone who refuses to quit, there is nothing that can stop you. No obstacle too big, no challenge too difficult, no goal too far, because you've already done the hardest thing. You've mastered yourself. And self-mastery is the ultimate power. It is the ability to control your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, regardless of circumstances. It is the ability to stay focused when others are distracted, to stay disciplined when others are lazy, to stay committed when others quit. And that ability separates the average from the extraordinary. So, build it, strengthen it, protect it. Because in a world full of distractions, full of noise, full of excuses, the person who can control themselves controls their destiny. And that is the ultimate advantage. Not talent, not luck, but discipline. Relentless, unwavering discipline. Because discipline doesn't fail. Discipline doesn't get emotional. Discipline doesn't make excuses. It simply executes day after day, step by step, until the goal is achieved. And when you combine that discipline with belief, with vision, with purpose, you become unstoppable, not because the journey is easy, but because you are unbreakable. And that is what success demands. Not perfection, but persistence. Not brilliance, but consistency. Not luck, but effort. Relentless, focused, disciplined effort. Every single day. No matter what, because in the end, the hard truth about becoming successful is not just about what you have to do. It's about who you have to become. And that person is waiting for you right now, on the other side of your fear, on the other side of your excuses, on the other side of your comfort zone. So step forward, leave the old version of yourself behind, and become everything you were meant to be. And when you finally step into that version of yourself, you begin to understand something most people never truly grasp. Success was never just about money. It was never just about status. It was never just about proving something to the world. It was about alignment. Alignment between who you are and who you know you're capable of becoming. Because there's a version of you right now that already exists in your mind. A version that is focused, disciplined, confident, unshakable, a version that doesn't hesitate, doesn't doubt, doesn't wait for permission, a version that moves with certainty, acts with purpose, and executes without excuses. That version of you is not a fantasy. It is a possibility. But the distance between who you are now and who you want to be is built on your daily choices, not your intentions, not your ideas, but your actions. Because intentions don't change lives. Action does. And here is where the truth becomes even harder. You will have days where you don't feel strong, days where your energy is low, days where nothing seems to be working, days where doubt creeps back in, louder than ever. And in those moments, you will be tested. Not by the world, but by yourself. Your discipline will be tested. Your belief will be tested. Your commitment will be tested. And most people fail in those moments, not because they're incapable, but because they're inconsistent. They rely on feeling good to take action. They rely on motivation to stay committed. They rely on external validation to keep going. But all of those things are temporary. They come and go. They rise and fall. And if your success depends on something that is temporary, your success will always be unstable. That's why the strongest individuals, the ones who build empires, who create impact, who rise above average, they don't rely on motivation. They rely on standards that they refuse to break, standards that define who they are, standards that they follow, even when no one is watching, because success is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the person you become. And the person you become is shaped by what you tolerate, what you allow, what you accept as good enough. So ask yourself, what have you been tolerating? Distraction, laziness, excuses, fear. Because every time you tolerate those things, you reinforce them. You give them power. You make them part of your identity. But the moment you decide that is no longer acceptable, everything begins to shift, because standards create structure, and structure creates discipline, and discipline creates results. That is the chain. That is the formula. Not complicated, but not easy either, because raising your standards means you have to let go of comfort. You have to say no to things that feel good in the moment for something that matters in the long run. You have to sacrifice time, energy, convenience, sometimes even relationships, because not everyone will understand your journey. Not everyone will support your growth. Not everyone will see your vision. And that's okay, because this path was never meant for everyone. It was meant for those who are willing to walk alone. If that's what it takes, because greatness often requires isolation, not forever, but long enough to build something within yourself. Focus, clarity, strength, because when you remove the noise, you hear yourself more clearly. You understand your purpose more deeply. You align your actions more precisely. And that clarity becomes your direction. Because without direction, effort is wasted. You can work hard every single day, but if you're not moving towards something meaningful, you're just spinning in circles. That's why clarity is power. Knowing what you want, knowing why you want it, and committing to it fully. Not halfway, not when it's convenient, but completely. Because partial commitment creates partial results, and partial results will never satisfy a person who knows they're capable of more. So go all in on your growth, on your goals, on your vision, because the moment you fully commit, you eliminate options. You remove escape routes, you burn the bridges behind you. So moving forward becomes the only choice. And that level of commitment changes you. It sharpens your focus. It strengthens your discipline. It forces you to adapt, to learn, to evolve. Because success is not a straight line. It is unpredictable, messy, full of obstacles you didn't see coming. But that's the point. Because those obstacles, they are not there to stop you. They are there to shape you, to prepare you, to make you stronger, smarter, more resilient. Because the version of you that can handle success is not the version of you that's just starting. You have to grow into it. You have to earn it through challenges, through failures, through moments where everything feels like it's falling apart. And you still keep going, because resilience is not about avoiding failure. It's about refusing to stay down. It's about getting back up again and again, no matter how many times you fall. And every time you do, you build something within yourself, something unbreakable, something powerful, something that cannot be taken away. Because external success can be lost, money can disappear, opportunities can fade. But who you become in the process, that stays with you forever. That becomes your foundation, your strength, your edge. And once you have that, you realize something incredible. You are no longer chasing success. You are creating it through your mindset, through your habits, through your discipline. Because success is not an event. It is a lifestyle, a way of thinking, a way of acting, a way of being. And once it becomes part of who you are, it shows up in everything you do, in how you wake up, in how you work, in how you respond to challenges, in how you carry yourself. Because success leaves clues, and those clues are found in your daily behavior. Not in your words, not in your plans, but in your actions. So pay attention to them, observe them, refine them. Because every small improvement, every adjustment, every step forward is building something greater, something that may not be visible yet, but is forming beneath the surface. And one day it will break through, not suddenly, but as a result of everything you've done, everything you've endured, everything you've refused to quit on. And when that moment comes, when the results finally show, when the progress becomes undeniable, when the life you once imagined becomes real, you will understand. It was never luck. It was never timing. It was never chance. It was you, your decisions, your discipline, your refusal to settle your commitment to becoming more. And that realization will change how you see everything, because you'll know. If you did it once, you can do it again, bigger, stronger, better, because now you're not the same person anymore. You're not the one who hesitated. You're not the one who doubted. You're not the one who waited. You're the one who acted, who persisted, who transformed, and that identity is unstoppable. So don't slow down. Don't get comfortable. Don't fall back into old patterns, because growth doesn't stop. Evolution doesn't end. There is always another level, another challenge, another version of yourself waiting to be unlocked. And the moment you stop pushing is the moment you start slipping. So stay hungry, stay focused, stay disciplined, because everything you've built, everything you become, depends on it. And remember this, the hard truth about becoming successful is not just about reaching the top. It's about staying there. And staying there requires the same mindset, the same discipline, the same relentless commitment that got you there in the first place. So keep going, keep growing, keep becoming, because this journey is not over. It's just getting started.